Hi everyone, this is Joshua Sprung with Lord Chase Games, and today I'll be talking about Sashimono.
Sashimono can also be played by yourself in a solo mode. Instead of challenging another player, you'll be facing the Kagemusha, whose prescribed actions simulate an opponent. To set up for solo mode, you're going to be choosing whether you want to play the Eastern or Western Army. You'll gather up all those cards, and you'll set aside the others for the Kagemusha. Um, your setup will be identical to the two-player mode, uh, but afterwards you'll set up the Kagemusha's area here. They'll start by placing a Tepagumi, Nagaigumi, and Kibutai in one line, and then you're going to shuffle up their Kumi cards. After that, you're going to shuffle their Sashimono cards, place the top card into this kind of top left position next to your Sonai. This card will represent the Kagemusha's army. As you're going to play, this card's going to move around your Sonai, and it'll basically be how the Kagemusha will target your lines. After that, you're going to grab the top 3 Sashimono cards of their deck and reveal those in this line here. These cards will then be essentially, they have no game text, but the score condition is valid. So they don't have any abilities or anything like that on the kind of the bottom half of the card. But that top bowing condition, that scoring condition, is still valid. And in this way, you can think of them as being like traps or things to avoid while you're playing the game. When playing your Sashimono, it's illegal to place your card in the same position as the Kagemusha's army. When the Kagemusha's army moves, if your card's in the way, it's going to basically skip that place and jump to the next space up ahead. When the Kagemusha discards Kumi, they are permanently discarded and not returned to the bottom of their deck. So this deck here of Kumi cards kind of becomes a timer of sorts. If the game goes long and there's no cards left in their Kumi deck, then you will lose the game. Cards in the Kagemusha's line are considered in a row, column, line, hand, or sonai for scoring conditions, effects, and battle. So when you're doing battle, you're actually going to be battling their line of cards here. If you play an action that grants an option to prevent it, the Kagemusha will decline. If you play an action that requires your opponent to choose to make a choice in your Sonai, they will choose the closest legal target to the Kagemusha's army. If there's any kind of ambiguity, like if this space wasn't here and you had to choose the closest, then they're going to choose the closest to where the Kagemusha's army would move to next. So in this case, it would be this card here. If the Kagemusha needs to select something, for example, after a battle, and you win the battle and they have to choose casualties, they're going to choose the card that's on the furthest left here. When playing against the Kagemusha, your turns will be the same. However, the Kagemusha will have their own specific turn and steps that they will follow. The first step will be to score Sashimono. In this case, they have one bowed Sashimono, so they're going to be scoring that. And to indicate this, you're going to place it to the left of their deck. That means that they are 1 point closer towards victory. Next, they're going to be taking actions with their Kumi based on what Kumi are in their line. If they have 2 Tepagumi, they're going to battle the nearest column to the Kagemusha's army. In this case, the Kagemusha's army is here, so they would battle this column here. Battle is just like when you're playing in a duel, except that the Kagemusha will not be anteing any cards. In this case, the Kagemusha would have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attack power. And you will have to defend against that attack appropriately. Remember that if the Kagemusha is making a choice as far as what Kumi they're going to choose as a casualty. They're going to choose the one that's the closest to the Kagemusha's army. The next action that's available for them is if they have two Nagai Gumi. If they have two Nagai Gumi, then they're going to place the top card of the Kumi deck in line here. So they would actually add yet another card in their line. Getting a line this long is unlikely. You'll see why in a minute. However, it can get fairly long. This is about the maximum it'll get. Next is if there's two Kibatai in the line, then they're going to battle the nearest row to the Kagemusha's army. In this case, it would be the top row because the Kagemusha's army is next to this top row. Step 3 of the Kagemusha's turn is to draw Kumi and check Kumi. The Kagemusha draws a Kumi card and adds it to their line. If the line has fewer than 3 Kumi cards, draw Kumi until they have at least 3 in their line. So in this case, that's not a problem. Then, if there are 3 or more matching Kumi cards, discard the leftmost of the matching cards until 2 remain. Then the Kagemusha draws a Sashimono card for each card discarded this way. In this case, we have a total of 3 Nagai Gumi and 3 Kibatai. So if this were to happen, then we would choose the leftmost Nagai Gumi to be discarded, and then we would choose the leftmost Kibatai to be discarded. And everything's going to shift down the line here. Oops. Since we had 2 cards leave their line from this effect, we're going to add the top 2 Sashimono cards to their line. The fourth step of the Kagemusha's turn is to move their army and check their Sashimono. You're going to move the army by placing it in the next available position, that is the spaces around your Sonai. If you happen to have a Sashimono in the way, when they make this move, they're going to skip it and go to the next available space. So if your Sashimono are in the way, you can influence where the Kagemusha's army will be next. After moving the army, you're going to check to make sure that they have only 3 Sashimono in their lineup. In this case, they have a total of 4 because we added 2 Sashimono to their line from the last step. So then you're going to place the leftmost Sashimono off to the side. They're not scoring it, but it's basically just going to be discarded. And then the other 3 remain. The reason for this is that they need to cycle through these Sashimono to create more unexpected situations that you would then cause them to score. Each Sashimono moved out of the way this way, they're then going to draw a Kumi card and add it to their line. So in this case, they had 1 card go over, so we're going to add 1 card to the Kumi line. And this card is essentially a bonus for the Kagemusha on their next turn. The victory conditions are the same as a 2-player skirmish. Be the first to score enough victory points to win. But the Kagemusha also has another way to win. If their Kumi deck or Sashimono deck are out of cards and you try to draw a card from either one of those decks, they will also win the game. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this mode. Don't forget that on page 14 of the rulebook, there's additional challenges if you want to kind of push this game to the next level in terms of difficulty. You can try any one of these different changes by themselves, or you can combine them for an even greater challenge. Thanks for watching.